Hello you lot, this is KeefCooks, I'm Keef, and today I'm going to do another Scots classic pie. I'm going to make a macaroni pie. A few shout outs before we start, one for Emily Hall, and that was requested by Town Renegade, or T-Town Renegade, I don't know. And also new Patreon fans Tony and Linda Barrett, and Venus. So thanks very much, people, much appreciated. Now, a couple of weeks ago I did Scotch pies, which turned out to be surprisingly difficult because it needs to have a raised, very thin pastry shell, which I struggled with. But I've made some progress, and during the course of researching the Scotch pie, I came across the Macaroni pie, which is macaroni cheese in a pastry shell.
It's macaroni cheese in a pastry shell. It's macaroni cheese in a pastry shell.
It's a heavy carb situation, so if that scares you, well, just stick around and watch, it's fun anyway. I've never had macaroni cheese in a pastry shell. It seems like an odd idea, but actually when you think about it, it's a great way to carry around some macaroni cheese. If you enjoy this video, press like. Now we're going to make hot water pastry, probably for about the 30th time. So here it is yet again. 250 grams plain all-purpose flour, 125 grams lard or dripping, a teaspoon of salt and 100 ml of water. So mix the salty flour, cut this into chunks, pop them in a pan, add the water, heat those up till the lard melts. You don't really want it to boil. It doesn't matter if it does a bit, but you know, don't let it boil away all the liquid is the point. Okay, that's all melted, so I'm going to put half of it in with the flour. Mixy, and then mix in the rest of it. I'll wrap that in plastic film, and then we'll pop this in the fridge to chill down before we move on to the next step, because we do want it actually quite cool before we form the shells. Now these macaroni pies are made in the same kind of shells that you make Scotch pies in, which I'm now almost an expert at making. Not really. So here's some that I made actually 4 or 5 days ago, and they've been drying out in the fridge ever since. But they've over-dried, I think, really, because I just tried to reshape this one, and I've broken it, so that's near good. I don't know if the 3 days is strictly necessary, but we'll see. I'm going to use these. That one's a bit tall, you know, it needs trimming, but I don't do it now because it's so dry. I'm going to make 2 in tins, which isn't really traditional, but it's a lot easier than doing it the raised way. And I'm going to show you how I get the pastry so thin and do as many as I can with the amount of pastry I've got. I don't think I've got enough to do all of those. Just measurify that. It's that's enormous. 12 centimetre diameter. It's 4 3/4 inches. So I doubt you'd ever get one that big in a shop, but I'm pretty sure I could handle one. Put these back in the fridge, roll out some pastry. I just start with one of these big ones because I don't know how far my pastry will go. So I'll just grease the inside with fabulous homemade butter. Ordinary butter will do. Flour on the worktop. Find the dough. Grab a bit and roll it out. Right, I think that's big enough, so I'll just roll it over the rolling pin. And unroll it over the tin. Try not to fold it or crease it, and try not to make any holes. If you do have to push it in, get a bit of spare dough and just use that, so that you don't damage the dough with your fingernails. Okay, now I'm just going to cut the excess off, not right up against the rim because it might shrink a bit. Now I promised you a special trick for getting the pastry really thin for the little ones, so here it is. The ludicrously heavy KitchenAid and the ludicrously expensive pastarola attachment. Now roll your dough out to something like that and whack it through the machine. This is on its widest setting. Let's just butter a crumpet ring there. So sprinkle a load of flour on one side of the pastry. That will also help it release. And then I'll pop this in the freezer for about 15 minutes and it should firm up enough for me to remove it from the ring. Right, shells are all done, so I've got 2 big ones and 4 little ones, as well as the other 4 that I made the other day. Plus a bit of leftover dough, which I can leave in the fridge till it goes mouldy, or I can put in the freezer. My choice. Right, I'll have a quick clean up and then we'll make the macaroni cheese. Okay, so now I'm going to make the cheese sauce, but one thing that I want to do, which is kind of my twist on it, I like the flavour of onion in a cheese sauce, but I don't necessarily want the crunch of the onion or the actual onion to be there. So what I'm going to do is infuse some milk, which is why I'm starting this first, because it needs 15, 20, 30 minutes for the infusion to happen. So I'm just going to peel this onion and coarsely chop it. It just happens to be a red one. So just sort of chop it like that. Actually, I want to get the milk on. Heating almost to boiling point, but not. So when it's looking like it's about to start bubbling, turn it off. Okay, I can see kind of wrinkles forming on the surface. So turn it off. Pop the onions in and just let them sit there for a bit. I don't know, 15 minutes will probably do it. Now I've got a load of salted water boiling away. I'm going to add 200 grams dry weight of straight cut macaroni. I've seen recipes that say use elbow macaroni, but I've never actually seen elbow macaroni in a shop. It's like that, but curved. I don't suppose it makes a lot of difference. Anyway, in we go. The instructions say 9 to 11 minutes, so I'm going to give it 8 because it's going to cook a bit further when it's in the pies. Right, I'm slightly delayed because I've just wasted half an hour looking for the cheese grater, which was exactly where it should have been, but face down, so I didn't recognise it and it had stuff on top. So that's kind of annoying. Cheese, I've got 150 grams each of red Leicester and mature cheddar, and what you use is entirely up to you, and the amount you use also. This is one of those recipes where I struggle to do the quantities because I just do what I normally do, but I don't know what that is in terms of actual weight of stuff, so there you go. Right, grate it, unless you've bought ready grated cheese. Which would save you a lot of time looking for your cheese grater. That might actually be more cheese than I really want, but it's there, it keeps. To make the sauce, we start off with a classic flour and butter roux. So melt about 50 grams of butter into a frying pan on sort of medium heat. And then stir in the same amount of flour. When that's mixed to a smooth paste, you can start to add the infused milk. Get that all mixed in and simmering away, and then you can add a bit of double cream, heavy cream, if you wish. Now I like to add a teaspoon of Dijon mustard, stir that in, then we'll add some of the cheese and some of the pasta, and keep on adding more and more, and then you might need to add some more milk if it's getting too thick. So we've got all the pasta in now, and that's most of the cheese. There's still quite a bit left, which I will use, maybe sprinkle on top before we bake it. So I've just tasted that, absolutely sensational. It doesn't need any salt or pepper, it's just perfecto the way it is, I think. So that needs to chill, and so do I. Just about to make pies, so you need your oven preheating to 180 degrees Celsius, if it's a fan oven, a convection oven. That's 200 for a conventional one, and that's probably gas 5. I should learn these things, but I don't. Right, I'm going to start the 2 big ones first. I'm going to bake these for half an hour and the little ones for about 15 minutes. Just fill it with filling. Okay, that's still hotter than I would like. It'll be alright by the time I get to the little ones. I'll just give them a good sprinkle of grated cheese on the top. Whack those in the oven, as I say, 15 minutes to start with, and I'll have the others ready to go in by then, and get another 15 minutes. Right, I don't think I've got enough filling to do all of them, so I'll do what I can. These are the ones that have been resting or drying out for 4 or 5 days, and these are fresh ones. So I'm going to do one freestanding, see how that goes, and one in a ring, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, extra cheese. So I think we can remember the extra dry one is taller. In for another 15 minutes. Okay, time's up, so let's have a look. Woo! Okay, that is interesting. So this is the one that was dried out for 4 or 5 days. This is the one that was just given maybe an hour or 2. So yeah, that's cool. That really makes a big difference, doesn't it? It's well, I'm going to let them cool down for about 5 minutes and then try and get the springform thingies off. Right. Okay. Oh.
Ooh, what have we got here?
You're not allowed to know yet because they're not ready. Okay, it's taste test time with Mrs. Macaroni Pie.
Oh good, because I'm starving. I actually came through to find out how long it was going to be because I'm hungry.
It's 4.5 inches, babe.
You. How hot is that?
Very.
Yeah, would you like these?
Maybe let them chill for more than 5 minutes. How are you going to do this then?
Well, don't you have to wait till it cools so that you can get the clip off? Without burning yourself?
Yeah.
Call me old-fashioned.
Very old fashioned.
Oh yeah. It should just drop, shouldn't it?
Yeah. Don't have to. Do that. Okay.
Easy peasy.
Ice piesy.
That wasn't supposed to happen, was it? I forgot about the
No,
ring.
that's fine. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that.
That's ever so pretty.
Thank you.
And this is the Scotch pie pastry.
Yeah. So this is a cheating method, doing it in a former or a mould, but
It's pretty.
I wouldn't blame you for doing it because you could end up with a slipper full of filling, or
Scotch slipper?
you could waste 5 days or wait 5 days.
Oh, is that the one that's been in the fridge?
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
no. Don't bother with that, darlings. Go with this.
Right, get stuck in.
Oh, yeah. So what happened to the slipper? Oh, no former.
No, that was one that I made today, and it only had like an hour or 2 chilling.
Uh-huh.
So it's not dried out as much as that, or anything like as much as that. Oh, and this is another one from today. Ha ha ha! Cheating, put it back in the ring, and that's worked beautifully. So yeah.
Mac and cheese.
Oh, that's mine.
No, but I've got to try both, haven't I? Because it's 2 different approaches to pastry.
Yeah.
Actually, what this is portable mac and cheese, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's all it ever was.
Which is all that pies ever were when, you know, the crust was not what you ate. It was a container for your runny filling.
Runny filling, making it stay still.
Oh, yeah.
Steam rising. That is a sign from nature.
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you what makes all the difference is the onion infusion in the milk.
Oh, I don't know what makes the difference. All I know is it's delicious. Well, they're both fantastic, but this is definitely prettier.
And picked up. Okay. We love that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for watching and see you next time.